Hello and welcome back to Crafty Concepts with Erin. This is day 2 of our Halloween card series. Hello. I hope you guys are ready for another fun yet spooky Halloween card. Let's go ahead and take a peek at today's project. We have this awesome spiderweb background with our little trio of pumpkins there. We're going to be playing with Distress Oxide inks again today. So first, we're going to go ahead and start with this piece of White Daisy. Now I have this spider web, and this is from my stash. This stamp set has been around for a long time. It's called Creepy Cobwebs. I don't even know how long I've had it, but I love using my stash and revisiting my supplies because I just love them. But if you're in need of a Halloween spider web, they have this Spooky Gnome stamp set, and that spider web there would work perfectly. So to begin, you want to start with some black ink, and I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of printer paper under my cardstock here, and then also this little foam mat. Now I've cut this piece of White Daisy down to 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to go ahead and kind of make a border around the edge with our spider webs, and I don't want them perfectly symmetrical side to side, so we're going to stagger them just a bit, kind of turning the web as we go and then altering how much, I stamp onto the cardstock there. So just kind of going back and forth with our black ink. And I love this spider web. Spider webs are fun. When I decorate for Halloween, that's usually kind of my main decoration is pumpkins and spider webs. Just a lot of spooky fun. So we just got the last one done there, and now we are ready, or our panel's finished there, so we're ready to work on the inner portion of our card. I'm just using my stamp chamois to clean my stamps as I go. I just keep that in a little Tupperware off to the side so it doesn't get anything wet. I've got a piece of the black cardstock, and then using the medium stitched rectangle, I've die cut this center panel here. So I want to do some heat embossing before we start creating our background. So we want to start by stamping our sentiment. Again, this stamp here is like 10 years old. Talk about revisiting the supplies. But we're going to use the Versamark ink. I'm going to put a little anti-static powder on the background there, and then using the Versamark ink, we're going to stamp the Boo image. Now, any sentiment would work well here, or you could die cut the letters Boo. Different ways that we can come up with this if you don't have a stamp set like this one. I'm using Ranger Super Fine Detail Embossing Powder in white. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun to set this. I personally always like to start from the back. I'll move from the back to the front. Heat embossing, I just think it works best. It doesn't disturb the powder that way. And now we have this shiny image. You can see when I tilt it in the light there. So now we're going to use our Distress inks, and this is pumice stone, and we're going to just kind of go over that. This is what we call emboss resist. So that shiny glossy finish is not going to take up the ink, and it's just going to, you could use clear also. If you don't have white embossing powder, the clear would preserve the white cardstock underneath, and you would get the same look. So we're just going around with, again, this pumice stone, and then we're going to use the black soot to bring in that black kind of coal color from the outside edges there. Just kind of going back and forth. Then we'll do a little bit to the bottom. I'm having a lot of fun playing with this Distress Oxide ink. You can do some really fun backgrounds with it. Now I just want this to kind of resemble old, weathered, creepy stonework. So that's the look I'm going for. When ink blending, you want to go back over those edges where the two colors meet with your lighter color. Or not necessarily lighter, but the original color. And that just really helps further blend those two together. So I'm liking the way that looks, so I think I'm going to keep it at right there. And now I'm going to just take a cloth and wipe the ink off of our embossed area there so that white is nice and crisp. So if you caught video number 1, we used this Bloom with Grace stamp, and we turned this little fall pumpkin into a Halloween pumpkin. So we're going to do that again today. Using my black ink, I'm stamping on, this is the White Daisy. and then we'll stamp one on Paprika, and then our final pumpkin is on Nectarine. I'm using the darker tone of both the Paprika and the Nectarine cardstock. There is a coordinating die for this little pumpkin, so I will go ahead and get those die cut off camera there to save a little time. And now we have our cute little pumpkin trio. And again, I'm using our Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend marker. This is earth brown, and I just want to darken up those stems a little bit. I'm going to use the same color for all three pumpkins. Because the cardstock is colored, it's going to give a little bit of a different hue on each one. So I'm just using the darkest shade of the earth brown, and then I'm going to use this ice gray blend and just put a little shadowing on the top of our white pumpkin here. So the beauty of using this little fall pumpkin image is that we can quickly turn it into a Halloween pumpkin by drawing a cute little face on it. So I'm going to do the same face as I did in card number 1 for this pumpkin, and then we'll mix it up a little for the next pumpkin we will color in. I'm just using a simple black journaling pen, and then we will add some liquid glass in the end. So let's get creative with this guy here. We'll give him kind of crescent shaped or half moon eyes there. Just like so. You can have a silly pumpkin, a spooky pumpkin. Really, it's your world. You can create whatever little happy pumpkin face you would like. We're making this guy a little spookier, so we'll give him kind of a jagged mouth. We still carve pumpkins. My boys are getting older and they don't really trick or treat or do anything like that, but we definitely have kept the tradition of carving pumpkins. And some years we get all fancy and we'll print out the images from, the computer and put it on and let that be our guide. We live out in the country, so we definitely don't get any trick-or-treaters, but we still enjoy coming home to our little pumpkin sitting on the porch to greet us. And occasionally the local deer will come through and make a snack out of one of them. So what I'm doing here is using a little fun craft foam. It's adhesive backed on one side to pop up this little die cut panel here. So I'm using a little glue on the corners just to make sure. And now I'm going to mat this on the black cardstock so we have that nice black border to separate the layers and make it pop. And then just using tape runner here, we can adhere this panel right in the center of our web background there. I'm just holding it up to make sure I have it lined up just right. And there, that's better. So now I'm using this, I've made a top folding note card there out of black cardstock. And now I decided really quick, before I adhere that, I'm going to use some black ink to ink the edges of this spiderweb panel. This is just a really quick way to finish it off, and it just adds a really nice finishing touch. So we've gone around the edges, and now we can adhere this to our top folding note card here. This is a standard A2 size panel. We'll get that centered just like so, and now we're ready to bring in our cute little pumpkins we created. So I'm going to put this little white pumpkin in the center, kind of in the background there. I like to do things in odd numbers. It's just kind of this rule of design. I mean, it's more of a guideline and you don't have to do it, but it's just very visually pleasing to have groupings of odd numbers. So that's why I chose 3 pumpkins. It's very balanced and just fits perfectly down there. I want to add a little something to the inside of the card. Now you could write your message in white gel pen, but I like to add some white cardstock to the darker cardstock card panels. That was a mouthful. So really quick, I'm just using our Happy Halloween spider web, and this is from the current catalog. And I'm practicing a few times to make sure that my image is stamping nice and crisp. We'll go ahead and put our cardstock down and center this just like so. And perfect. Looks wonderful. Halloween cards may not be your thing, but I do know I have a lot of friends and family members that have October birthdays, and so I turn these into birthday cards, and it works great. It's just kind of fun. Last but not least, we're going to add a little liquid glass to the eyes and mouth of our little pumpkin faces here. It just adds a nice glossy finish and a little texture to the card. Brings a little shine to their eye. I find often these extra little steps we take have a big impact. So we have a lot of fun layers on this card. We have our pumpkins over our distress ink background over our stamped spiderweb layer. And then the fun inside panel that we've used that Happy Halloween web. So if you missed out on the first video of this series, I'll go ahead and leave that link right here. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of the spooky fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.